Hello everybody, Hassan here from Galaxy Invest. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice, so please do your own research. So today I want to dive deep into the CTX001 program from CRISPR Therapeutics. The purpose of this video is just basically to show what this program is about, what is it addressing, what's the potential market to address, and perhaps just talk a little bit about what the progress is and what's the outlook of this program from this company. So on their website here in pipeline, we already talked about this page here, and there's a section here for the CTX001 as you expand it. It says for more information on CTX001, please click here. So we'll click here, but just know that it is co-development and co-commercialization with Vertex, and it is obviously addressing the beta thalassemia and sickle cell disease issues in this field. So if we take a look at this page here, again, this isn't anything new. I believe we reviewed this type of infographic in previous videos, but it's always good to remind yourself, what this program is doing, right? It is addressing these two diseases that are affecting over 360,000 annual births per year. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of people every year that are born with one of these two diseases, and these two diseases obviously can cause early death, severe pain. We're looking at anemia. We're talking about excessive blood transfusions. I think in a previous video I made a reference to how expensive these blood transfusions are, how you need to basically go in a hospital, have the whole setup done, and this is very costly. It's very time inefficient, and I think it's definitely not the current ways of dealing with this is definitely not available to the mass market if we look around the world in lesser developed nations. So I mean, this is what it mentions here, right? Heavy burden of patient care. And I think here they really go over some of some of the more technical details of why this is happening in someone's body. Obviously, talk about the symptoms and so on. And what I didn't want to mention on this page is here this image here, and we'll take a look briefly in a presentation that was posted in December, last December. It was a presentation between Vertex and CRISPR Therapeutics. But just before we head there, just know that, on a high level, this is what's being done, right? There's a clinical trial site, call it like a hospital, right? It's basically the cells are being extracted and then shipped to this manufacturing location. This is what we talked about in a previous video about CRISPR Therapeutics. Basically, their vision into setting up these types of location. They're expanding on this. We saw South Boston being one of those locations. So they're really putting focus and emphasis on these types of this type of manufacturing location where they can basically edit their cells that they've extracted and then basically reinsert these cells back in the patient. This is basically what ex vivo is about, the ex vivo approach. And I mean, that's the idea, right? Patients who receive CTX001 will be asked to enroll in a long-term follow-up study for safety. And that's what we talked about as well, where it's not just about curing the disease, but you need to go through months and months of monitoring, see if everything's good, see if there's no side effects. I mean, that's the whole part of the FDA approval process. And just a note here, you can see here in 2017, we signed an agreement to co-develop and co-commercialize this program with our partner Vertex. So 2017 and we're in 2021, so that's about 4 years, and they still haven't gone mass market. I don't think this is going to be the case for future diseases to tackle. I don't think this is a standard we should all rely on. But it should give you an idea how this type of process does take time. And we mentioned that in the previous video as well. So there's nothing new here what I'm saying, but just know that it does take time. These types of partnerships, these types of programs take time to develop, take time to proceed, and the implementation, and obviously the whole FDA approval. We're talking about months and months, if not years. So there's definitely that you want to consider. And I do want to reiterate the mission of this company, right? You always want to step back. We're looking at the CTX001 program specifically, and that's addressing two of the diseases that we talked about. But you want to be able to step back and remind yourself what this company is doing, right? What is their mission statement? And I mean, we've already talked about this in the previous video, but at CRISPR Therapeutics, we are focused on developing transformative gene-based medicines for serious human diseases. So it's more than just these two diseases, right? CTX001 is just a foot in the door, right? It's just to get yourself in the game and basically expand from there on. I mean, they already have a whole pipeline, right? If we revisit here our pipeline, they already have a pipeline here of many of the diseases they're tackling, including type 1 diabetes, obviously CAR-Ts and so on. So they have many plans in the pipeline, but CTX001 is the main one that everyone should be focused on for this company. I think every investor should be aware of what this program is about, where is it going, what's the purpose of this, what will it unlock in the future. So that's what I want to dive here in this presentation. So again, this presentation was in December 9. It was in partnership with Vertex, the CEO of Vertex, and obviously Dr. Sam, the CEO of CRISPR Therapeutics. And I just want to scroll down here, and obviously here you see scientific milestones of what's going on in the industry between these two companies. And we'll just go in this slide here. Key program highlights for CTX001 and beta cell thalassemia and sickle cell disease. So these are just highlights, right? This is from December, so obviously we got an even latest update on March. But just know that what they're mentioning here is very, very interesting. They're mentioning here advancing towards regulatory submissions, right? Multiple regulatory designations allow for increased regulatory interaction and input. So it's not just about getting positive data and getting it to mass market, getting obviously FDA approval. There's more to it, right? I think this company and Vertex, obviously their partners, they're betting on the fact that this program will also improve the way regulations are done on this, perhaps enhance the speed of it, perhaps allow more flexibility. I mean, the issue right now is that this program has been, like I mentioned, in discussions, and the partnership's been implemented for years, right? And we still haven't gone mass market. And it is expected, so there's nothing new here. But what they're hoping to do, at least from what I'm understanding from this type of presentation, is that they're really trying to not just get these two diseases tackled, but also look in the macro side of things, which is everything to do with regulations, right? So this is really, really interesting point to be made. So do keep that in mind. And if we scroll down a little bit here, obviously here they're talking about the timeline, how it started and how it's going. Total patients dosed to date. So nothing new here. We're getting some information that was obviously included in their review of 2020 and their latest updates. And they're going, these regulatory designations are very, very important to consider, right? I mean, there are other players in this field, right? And we've mentioned that there will be other winners as well, because the processes for different diseases have to be unique and they all have to be approved by some sort of regulator, right? Such as FDA, obviously. So there's a lot of regulations to go through, and this is why I truly believe that CTX001 will be basically an enabler to allow regulators to see more to this type of technology, right? It's more than, I think the landscape will change. It has to change, right? If you get positive results for CTX001 and you see that this technology can indeed cure disease and not really have any significant side effects, um, you're just obliged as a regulator to look deeper into it and to collaborate with these types of technology companies and to perhaps still allow this FDA approval obviously to exist, but in such fashion that it does not discourage innovation, right? And don't forget, every day that you go by without a cure, you're losing people out there, right? With these types of diseases, we looked at the data, right? We're looking at thousands and thousands of people that have only, sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, right? There's many other diseases affecting thousands of other people. So this is it's a very, very serious topic, right? The whole regulations part. And I think CRISPR Therapeutics also want to address this, but I think the approach that they want to go through, and like other companies as well, it's more like show rather than tell, right? They want to show that CTX001 will indeed succeed. And so far, everything looks like it will succeed. So we're led to believe that regulators will definitely consider the results from CTX001 and then make appropriate changes, right? It just makes sense, right? Common sense is definitely being applied here. So this here, I think I wanted to show this slide here because it reiterates what we were looking at from earlier from CRISPR Therapeutics infographic, where basically here they're saying that a hospital will be basically the site where a patient is screened, and then you see these stem cells collected, and then you have a manufacturing facility that will basically go through the process of editing the cell, obviously from through Cas9, and then basically infuse CTX001 into the patient. So you can see here the process of design for consistency from development to commercialization. So this is very, very interesting what's going on here. Just on a high level, sort of understand the dynamics here of how all of this is being done. So we'll just scroll down a little bit here, and here pipeline of potential transformative medicine. So don't forget, right? I mentioned this earlier. The mission of this company is to treat serious diseases in the long term, right? Sickle cell disease, beta thalassemia are one of them, are two of them, right? But there's many others, right? And they will tackle them. That's part of their mission. And so far, they have a couple of them in the pipeline, right? And this is where they are right now. This is just another image. Visually, you can see the progress here. So things are looking really, really good for this company, and obviously for this partnership as well, because don't forget this presentation was done between the two companies, right? So we'll just look at, these are a little bit technical details. I don't think we want to go specifically into that, maybe for a future video, but well, these are just reiterating some of the results. In fact, we got the latest updates from the March update, so these are even older updates at this point. So I didn't want to go through these slides here, starting at slide number 24, Dr. Sam here. The CRISPR platform here, the promise of CRISPR becoming a reality, right? So we talked about ex vivo and in vivo, and this company, the way they're thinking about this is that they want to go to CTX001 through the ex vivo approach, and then eventually, right, venture as well into the in vivo approaches. And I do believe we made a mention of this, but ex vivo and in vivo can tackle different diseases, so they're both necessary, right? Obviously, some of the diseases are much more suited to be tackled as in vivo, for example, or ex vivo. But for the purpose of CTX001, obviously it is an ex vivo. There are other players in this field, such as Antilia, that is approaching this through in vivo. So just keep that in mind, that there are other companies tackling the in vivo approaches first. So it is important to know that they do have that in mind, right? To go from ex vivo to in vivo. And then if we go to the next slide here, they have these bullet points basically saying potential to be best in class, right? Simple, precise, durable, single edit approach using CRISPR, significant market opportunity. Obviously, we looked at some of the basic numbers out there just for these two diseases, sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, and you see that there's a huge market for it, and there's a strong case for benefit. Obviously, that I think this is pretty obvious here, and competitively well positioned, right? Because they have these type of partnerships, obviously with Vertex. They have ViaCyte as well with type 1 diabetes that they plan on tackling as well. And obviously this isn't mentioned here in this case, in this slide here, but we took a look at the previous video how their cash position is well over $1 billion. So they have money to burn, they have money to spend on R&D. They're well suited for the next year or two even. So that's why I do believe that they're well positioned, at least for the near term. And here in the next slide here, they're talking about specifically CTX001. There's a potential to treat over 30,000 patients in the near terms across US and Europe. Here they're obviously talking about how basically their vision of CTX001 is to treat the severe cases candidates, right, in US and Europe, and then basically expand that to even a greater, larger number, well over, I guess the number, if you add these up, 150,000 plus 16,000, that's 166,000, that have obviously gentler conditioning regimens, whatever that means. So, and then obviously they'll go to international markets. So even through CTX001, the way I see this is that CTX001 could be like a company by itself, right? I think this is something a lot of people are missing out on, is that this CTX001 is basically a product line that is going to start in certain regions such as US and Europe, and then expand not just through the region but also from the severity of the diseases, those two diseases, and then expand internationally. So we're looking at thousands and thousands of patients that can potentially be cured, and obviously for future births, right? Because we saw that there's about 360,000 annual births with these two diseases around the world. So there's plenty of people to cure here. So and it is definitely the mission of this company, right, to cure severe diseases. So this is extremely important to note down that this is only CTX001, right? And then you have to think about, right, if we go back here in the pipeline, I'm not sure if I can find the pipeline. If we go back in the list of diseases, right, type 1 diabetes, right, and if you keep your imagination open here, type 2 diabetes, right, the amount of people that they can cure just in US alone, in Canada, in North America, in Europe, and then obviously expand around the world in lesser developed nations. And I do believe this is going to be a long process, right? This isn't going to be happening anytime soon. I think CTX001 is the plan, is the focus for this company. All their results are based on this. Basically, their outlook for 2021 is based on this. They do have obviously other plans to obviously do the in-filings and obviously go through some other clinical trials with some of the other programs they're tackling. But CTX001 is basically the closest to achieve FDA approval out of any companies in this field. And investors are really looking forward to keep getting these positive results, because there's nothing for us to believe that they won't be getting positive results. Has they been, those 10 patients been cured and results are looking positive? But we never know. I guess we never know. But I think that's what a lot of investors are looking forward for. Once CTX001 gets approved and once they start tackling these patients, we're looking at over 30,000, and then slowly expand that addressable market and slow through different programs in their pipeline. So I think this is what I want to show in this video. I want to basically allow us to dive a little bit into how CTX001 is doing, what's the plan, what is it planning to treat, what's the plan internationally, and perhaps make some comparisons with how other programs in CRISPR Therapeutics pipeline would perhaps allow this company to grow and perhaps allow other investors to be interested in the fact that they have so many diseases that they can cure. So this is going to be very, very interesting times in 2021. I am under the belief that they will get approval by 2022 and go mass market by then. Everything is pointing towards that. Dr. Sam, the CEO, has mentioned that they will get approval um, by then, and I think the fact that they're moving to the commercial side of things, I think these are bullish signs that we cannot miss out on. So I'll leave this video like this. Hopefully it helps some of you understand a little bit of CTX001. Don't forget to maybe like and subscribe. Really, really does help the channel. I think it helps the community as well. I think the goal here is just to spread the positive message about this company and maybe raise awareness that other legacy media has failed to capture the progress of this company and other companies in this field, right? So thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.